If you don't have an assistant, you are the assistant. And that's a fact. Inbox alone is hours a week of free time, get freed up. Managing my calendar. That's been the thing that I've been more slow to give away. Man, think of all the time you save. So let's just say it's 3 hours a day times 5 days a week. There's 15 hours a week that gets saved.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Scale Smart, Grow Fast. Today we're going to talk about, what if scaling a business didn't mean burning out or compromising your values? Today's guest, Ken Wimberly, is proof that growth doesn't have to come at the cost of your soul. He's the founder of Laundry Love, a modern, community-centered laundromat brand, and a serial entrepreneur who spent 20 years building scalable businesses rooted in legacy, leadership, and purpose. In this episode, you'll learn how to systemize for freedom, lead with clarity, and grow a business that makes you proud. Ken, welcome to the podcast. Maybe you can tell us a little bit more about your background as an entrepreneur.
Hey, Harley, thanks for having me. Been looking forward to this. Yeah, entrepreneurially, it's almost all I've ever done. I spent a short stint in the Navy in the middle of my college. When I graduated college, I guess I had 2 jobs. One is in the insurance and investment business. From there, I launched a pizza endeavor, launched a pizza startup business. Then kind of franchised, quasi-licensed a brand. Failed, oddly, because of real estate issues, which is odd since I spent the next 20 years of my life in real estate. But after that failure, I worked briefly for about a year as a GM at a restaurant. And then it was into the rest of my entrepreneurial career, which for decades was in the commercial real estate business as a broker initially in the land brokerage business, and then migrated into investment sales business from there. And as I was doing that, got affiliated with the Keller Williams network. And through that, ended up becoming a Keller Williams franchise owner. And from there, started buying real estate, and the buying real estate ended up bringing us into the laundromat business. We bought a shopping center that we were looking for tenants and learned that would make an ideal center for a laundromat. Tried to find a laundromat operator. We couldn't find one. So my partners and I decided, what if we became the operator? And that was the impetus for starting Laundry Love. And when we did that, we wanted to do something different. We noticed in the industry, laundromats were gross, dingy, oftentimes unstaffed, and not places that you would want your family to be. And we wanted to be the opposite of that. We wanted to be the family-friendly laundromat, aka the Chick-fil-A of laundromats is what we wanted to be. And so we've got a dedicated children's play space in every laundromat. We bring in books and try to impact childhood literacy. We read to kids. We give books away to kids. We do something for our communities every single month that we're in business. And it's been a blessing, and it's been a way that we can make impact, have purpose, do great things, all the while having a profitable and thriving business.
That's an amazing story. I love how it sounds like you learned from some of the challenges or failures that you faced early on, pivoted, took that knowledge, and then made it your special skill or, unique advantage to leverage into the next endeavor. I'd love to hear, what are some of the turning points you experienced with your approach to scaling business?
I'll give you 2 or 3. Team is the absolute foundation of it, though. Having the right people in the right seats doing the right things. That's imperative. We've got both a physical and virtual team in our business. So virtual, we have team members from around the world that are part of our team. Actually, physically, I'm in Fort Worth, Texas. My partner's in Austin, Texas. We've got team members in offices or stores in multiple cities. So we're very dispersed in as far as where we're located physically. But yeah, I'd say the one blessing out of COVID that came through was the ability for everyone to really learn remote work and how to put remote teams together. So that's been great. So again, having the teams has been super important, getting people dialed in. The other big thing that's made a real big game changer for us is implementing EOS into our business. So Entrepreneurial Operating System, and not just dabbling in it, like full on implementation, hiring the EOS implementer, having them come in quarterly into our business and using all of the tools appropriately. That has been absolutely instrumental in streamlining our business and truly getting the right people in defining what are the right seats, then defining who are the right people, and are these people that we have right now the right people? Are they doing the right things? Do they want it? Do they want the job? Are they able to do the job? Man, that's been an absolute game changer for us. So I can't recommend that highly enough.
I love that you brought that up, because one of the questions I was going to ask you was, what systems do you use to have these hybrid teams? You've got people all over the world, and I think you answered it very clear there with EOS. That's something we've also implemented in our businesses. Huge EOS fans. So I love that you're doing that as well. I also love how when we were coordinating this podcast, you immediately brought in one of your executive assistants. And I'd love it if you could share kind of your thoughts on leveraging executive assistants for founders and business leaders. A lot of people think, hey, it's easier if I just do it myself, and they don't want to release the control or access to their inbox. What are your thoughts on bringing on an executive assistant and the best ways to leverage them?
Yeah, it is truly the first hire we need to make is that on the executive assistant, because if you don't have an assistant, you are the assistant. And that's a fact. Inbox alone is hours a week of free time that get freed up. My calendar, managing my calendar. That's been the thing that I've been more slow to give away. But just this morning in my huddle call with my EA, rather than me spending the 5 minutes to go add or things on my calendar, I'm literally talking to Davidson, add this, change this, move this meeting. Man, think of all the time you save instead of me having to call someone, coordinating, think through email back and forth, changing this. Nope, that's not my thing. That is part of Davidson's responsibility that he helps me with. He manages my full calendar, and that helps so much. Just those two things alone are hours a day that are saved. So let's just say it's 3 hours a day times 5 days a week. There's 15 hours a week that get saved. But wait, there's more. It's like the old commercials right there. But there's so much more that they can do from, like Davidson is a master at graphic design. That's really his core skill set is graphic design. And so he handles anything I need to prepare from presentation standpoints, design. We're building a big brand book right now. So a design standards book and brand book for Laundry Love. Davidson is in the middle of a total revamp of what we got. And he is skilled, man. God, he's so skilled at that. Could I do it? Yeah. But it would take me forever, and it wouldn't be to the level of quality that he will produce. And frankly, my time can then be spent on what I need to spend the time on, like deep thinking, big projects, like vision for the company. So having the VA is so critical. He manages all of my social media. And in fact, I was telling him yesterday, it's like, Davidson, it's like I'm listening to my own voice when you're talking now. He's gotten so good. He studies me. He knows me. He watches the podcast. He listens to things. He knows what I'm talking about. And then he's using tools that help to kind of refine things. He's using some AI tools to do clips. And it's so impressive what he's able to do. Frankly, things that I just don't even know how to do right now. He's just that good. He's truly a member of my team. And then I have another VA, Melissa. She's kind of become my wife's primary executive assistant. She was my very first VA hire 12 years ago.
Oh,
I
wow.
hired her. So she's been with me, lives in the Philippines. She's been on my team for 12 years, has been with me, frankly, through 3 different companies that I've had, actually 4 different companies that she's helped do work in 4 different companies. And she's so good. And so Davidson, Melissa, they're like family to me. They're truly like family. I love them with all my heart. We have a morning huddle every morning with, it's my wife, I, and our 2 VAs. We meet every morning. We share something. Our huddles are very simple. They're 15 minutes. I start the huddles and I'll share something I'm grateful for today. And then I'll share the 3 things that are the big 3 rocks on my priorities for the day. These are the 3 things I need. And if there's anything I need from anyone else, I'll ask for that during the huddle. Then I'll choose someone else. They'll go through the same format. Something they're grateful for. What are their 3 big rocks? What do they need help with? And so on. So we each share that. We're in and out in 15 minutes. And then we're on to our one, like then Amber has a one-on-one with Melissa. I have a one-on-one with Davidson, which is another 15 minutes. It will kind of follow. Do you read Dan Martell's Buy Back Your Time?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yep.
Great book. And so we follow some of Dan Martell's format that he suggests as far as our morning EA huddle that we follow. That's a great book. So for someone looking to bring on an executive assistant or a virtual assistant, he's got so many great just little frameworks and models to follow that you can implement. So we implement his morning EA huddle with my EA. We go through exactly that. And in that 30 minutes of time, I mean, we're off to the races. Everyone knows what they're doing for the day and we're off to it. So I can't say enough about the benefit of it and the importance of getting that VA in your life, or not necessarily VA, executive assistant, which can very much be a VA in your life.
Absolutely. Well, I love that you brought up like those morning huddles and having those check-in calls with the VA. So many people that I see struggle with VAs. Often the reason they're struggling because they're not having that morning huddle or they're not having regular check-ins. They're treating the VA like a black box. At most, maybe they're chatting or emailing instructions. And then of course they're, struggling with the results. I'm curious, what strategies or mindset shifts helped you build trust with your team and allow them to take over ownership of these roles and responsibilities?
Yeah. And look, it's an evolution. Like with any new hire that you bring on, someone comes on, they don't know anything about you and anything about your business. It takes time. First and foremost, they need to be trained. That you need to spend the time with them and train them. And I will say this, when I made Melissa was my first virtual hire. And when I hired Melissa, I trained her. I was doing things and I wasn't very great about training. Truthfully, when I turned over the training to my in-house admin, I had an in-house admin at the time, then Melissa got trained really, really well. And so they need to be properly trained. Now, when Davidson came on board, Melissa had been with me for years by that time. Melissa knew how to train Davidson. And so then it was great. So each person needs proper training, proper oversight. And so the morning huddles are really, really important. And I didn't used to do that years ago. I wasn't great about that, but I've learned, hey, this is something we should implement and it doesn't need to be long. And I'm a big fan of R&D. People always think R&D is research and development. No, it's rip off and duplicate. Okay. So I R&D things all the time. And so if I see a model or a system someone else is using, I'm going to take that, implement it into my business. I took a lot of Dan Martell's frameworks. I've taken frameworks for the other. The other thing, so important, and I took this from my partner in the laundromat business, Tyler, which is in addition to the morning daily huddles on Fridays, we have a one-on-one with each team member. And that is so important for the one-on-one. It's really about a check-in. How are they doing? It sounds very routine because I go through the same series of questions kind of every week, which is about 10, 12 questions I've got. But the first one is the simple check-in with like, how are they doing? Yeah. Like internally, with their family, how are things going in their life? Because if they're struggling with something, family member, if they're struggling with their health, if they're struggling with something, that's not necessarily something's going to bring up. And so this is the point of that check-in is how are you doing? Because if they're struggling, that's the only thing we're talking about is how can we serve and help? And is there any kind of solutions we can bring? Once that check-in's good and we know, hey, they're doing good, things are going okay, then we'll go through the other things at work. We'll kind of go through a series of questions from how'd your week go? Were you able to get the things done that you thought you were going to get done? You need any extra tools, anything that we need to add? How's our communication going? We'll go through this little series of questions. It's very conversational. I've learned that I don't read the questions. Like I know the questions. I will speak based on what it is. I'll get the information without rote reading the questions there. But I mean, that has been a key part. So sometimes I do them, sometimes my wife does them, but I think it's important for both of us to engage and it helps us to just get a little more out of the business relationship, more into the personal relationship with our folks.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up just checking in with your employees on like the personal level, because so many times the personal side isn't really talked about, or there's not a natural opportunity to bring it up in most business meetings the way people traditionally do them. And they can really lead to negative performance or dropout or turnover. And there's so many challenges that often as the business owner, you're like, we can solve this. Like just take a few days off or pay advance or, whatever it may be. There's simple solutions from like a business owner standpoint that can alleviate what seem like major challenges from an employee's perspective. So I'm glad you brought that up. We've seen major improvement in our business doing the same thing. And speaking of that balance and helping people, you've got a lot going on. In addition to Laundry Love, you're still active as a commercial real estate investor. How do you balance your time between your endeavors?
Number one, I weaponize my calendar, meaning I really put every single thing I'm going to do on my calendar. If you looked at it, it might freak you out. Or it does freak out some people like, hey, I can't even look at a calendar that's that busy. But for me, it helps me because I know exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. Almost all of my time is spent in the Laundry Love endeavor. It's a lot to be in a company that's growing like we're growing. We're franchising. We're building our own stores. We're supporting other people. We're doing a lot. So most of my time is there, but you are correct. I still do some real estate investments. I've got some partners that we invest with. I don't really do any more brokerage anymore, but I do have referral partners that I send deals over to because people still look to me as the real estate guy. And so I manage those relationships. But again, it's all on my calendar. It's mapped out. It's color coded. So I know, hey, Laundry Love is this color. Real estate is this color. Personal is this color. Family is this color. I've got date nights with my wife on the calendar. I've got my kids' sports events on the calendar. It's all on there. And so I think that's, for me, a really, really important thing. Again, I use Davidson to help manage my calendar. So he knows when leads are coming in and he's putting things, franchisees and meetings on my calendar.
If you're running a growing company and still handling too many operational details yourself, there's a better way forward. The Delegate or Die checklist shows you the exact tasks that drain leadership bandwidth and the simple changes that recover 15 to 30 plus hours a week. Download it free at workergenics.com/scalesmart. Now let's get back to the episode.
The other thing I've done is to map out my calendar. So I use Google for all my tools, and I have a Google Suite, of course, with all the business tools, but I also have just a Google personal calendar. And on my personal, I don't use two different calendars, but what I have on my personal is the ideal calendar mapped out. I actually took this idea from Dan Martell as well. I have the ideal framework of everything from 4 a.m. when it starts, which is my kind of personal time and my morning routine time, to then getting out to my workout time, to my family time before Kai goes to school, to then my blocks, my big blocks during the day, my deep work time, which is usually right after our morning huddles is when I'm best at my deep work, like when I've got all my energy still in the morning, into the afternoon time, my flex time. And so Davidson has my overlay of my ideal calendar. And so he knows if he's going to schedule appointments with me, he's like, well, I'm not going to put these in his deep work time, because deep work is when he's doing the deep work. I'm going to put these in his flex time over here. So it's a matter of both working with my EA and then just, that it took me a few hours to map that out. I had adjust it for me to figure out what is my ideal calendar. If I was looking at that, what does that look like? But then once I had it, then everything just starts flowing into place.
I love that. And I'm curious, we do something similar in our family with calendars and time blocking. I'm curious how often you revisit that kind of ideal alignment. Are there times where you're like, hey, priorities have shifted. I need more deep work time for this project, that project. Or do you have kind of enough, I guess, flexibility in what your ideal kind of layout is that those different priorities that come and go still fit within that?
It's built now where there's enough flexibility in there, like that kind of long multi-hour blocks for some things. And, the reality of my calendar will show up differently than the ideal calendar, but it's a guide for me. And certain times people can only meet at certain times, or we'll schedule an entire day for a discovery day. Well, that takes up a whole day. I've got 3 hours of travel each way, plus I've got a 6-hour meeting I'm going into. That takes up an entire day. So certain things happen, but at least I've got the framework for what the ideal calendar looks like. And then there's travel times where I'm going to be out of town, whether it's a business trip or a personal trip. And so that takes priority of it. But I think just the fact of having a guideline in place that I try to follow has helped a great deal.
Well, speaking of guidelines, you mentioned EOS earlier, so I'm sure you're big on KPIs. I'm curious, what are some of your favorite KPIs or metrics that tell you when your systems are working, or maybe something's out of whack and some adjustments need to be made?
In our business, it's yes, EOS has been so amazing because we worked as a team to define what are those KPIs that are really important to us as a team. And we're coming up on our annual now again for EOS. So we'll relook at our KPIs at the annual and say, do we need to update, modify, shift, change anything in here? But man, it's for me and my role, it's how many people are in my pipeline actively, how many people have gotten past a certain point in the pipeline where we think there's going to be some material movement in it for our business. What's really important, I mentioned we're community focused, family friendly. So we have on our KPIs, how many books has each store given away to children this week? We have on our KPIs, how many lives have we positively touched this week? Because that's important to us. It didn't used to be on the KPI. And they were like, if this is important to us, shouldn't we be tracking this? And if we're tracking it, what do we track to see how we're affecting this? And how does that work? And we kind of came together as a team and started thinking, how would we track this? And we've got lives touched. So our managers will report how many people they've been able to positively affect that week. And so it's really, really a cool event, cool thing to deal with.
Well, I'd love if you could elaborate on one of those stories of one of those lives that you've touched through the communities that you're working with, and what impact did that have on the business, whether it's loyalty, revenue, or just general people feeling good about what they're doing.
I'll give you a couple examples. One will be coming up this week. I think we're having at all of our stores, we're doing a Thanksgiving dinner giveaway. So we get a bunch of $50 gift cards to H-E-B Grocery, which is in our markets where we are. And we give away as many as we can afford, $50 gift cards, so that a family can go buy Thanksgiving dinner and have it. Wow. And I can't tell you the number of stories we hear from people that like, if it wasn't for this, we wouldn't be having Thanksgiving dinner together. And you talk about moving and important. That's so important. Every August is back to school time. And so we, in partnership with our key vendors. So we'll work with our key vendors and that way we can raise even more money, have more of an impact. And we will go buy hundreds of backpacks filled with school supplies for back to school time. So we know kind of what the primary school supplies are that are needed. And we'll put out a notice to the community that, hey, come by Laundry Love from this time to this time and come pick up a backpack for each one of your kids. And we will have a line out the door of families with kids coming in to get backpacks. And the kids are so happy. The parents are happy. And that's an amazing thing. And then I'll tell you a one-on-one story that has always moved my heart. A while back, we have one of our key team members who's actually our first store manager. He's my partner's father, who was our first store manager. And then he was our first regional manager. And then he's our director of facilities. He can fix anything. And really, his biggest overarching role, we call him the minister of love. He's just an amazing, amazing human. In fact, in the show notes, I'm going to give you a link to a beautiful video that was done about the minister of love. Really, really cool. But one of the things that Clay did, his name is Clay, he was in the store one day and he saw this gentleman that he knew, one of our customers that had been coming in. And the guy was visibly upset, just really distraught, and something was going wrong. And Clay came up to me and said, "Hey man, is everything okay? What's going on?" And the guy said, Clay said, it's not good. He said, I'm getting evicted from my apartment. He said, but yeah, the bigger problem, Clay, is he said, my truck's broke down. I can't even get my stuff out. I'm about to be locked out. I'm going to lose everything I've got. They're going to lock me out. And Clay didn't think twice. He said, come on, man, let's get in my truck. And he got in his truck and he spent the next several hours helping this guy move all of his stuff out so they wouldn't get looked at. I mean, Clay's in his 60s. He's in there moving this furniture, helping the guy do what he can so that the guy doesn't lose his things. And there's, I mean, there's a story like that every single week that there's something going on, and it's a beautiful thing. And it really has shown me what kind of an impact we can have by just showing up, seeing the people, just witnessing them, seeing them, and doing a little bit. Sometimes it's just a friendly word or a prayer or something we can do to help them. There's a lot of little things that we can do to make a really, really, really positive impact. And this is all of us, Harley. This is every day, any one of us. If we will slow down, open our eyes, witness others, there's something that we can do to really serve.
Well, Ken, that's an inspiring story. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who maybe are looking for opportunities and love what you've been saying about Laundry Love. What would you say makes a really ideal franchisee and operator for Laundry Love that would be good to, follow up with you and learn more?
Yeah, for us, it's a few things. First is, someone that wants to work with a team. There's a lot of people that are very independent minded, and I don't want anyone kind of telling me how to do things, how to run things. But there's others that love the concept of structure and systems and things in place and working with a team. If you're a team-centered player, you come with a heart of leadership and a heart of service. Ideally, you've got some business experience, some acumen you can bring to it, whether that's from a marketing perspective or an accounting perspective or a business development. There's a lot of different ways, but some type of business and or leadership experience. Ex-military folks are really, really good for us. Skylar and I are both veterans, and we do everything we can to support veterans. Then that's the kind of folks that we want to talk to, because we're providing structure, organization, lots of business systems in place that you can kind of plug and play, leadership, community events, mastermind within our organization. And if someone's looking for a business we can't do this without making a profit. And it's actually a very profitable business, but we don't look at it as profit first. We look at it as, we call it doing good by doing good. It's like the more good we do for others, the more good that comes back to us. It's kind of the old Zig Ziglar mentality.
Yes. We feel the same way with the virtual assistant business. People can feel good while doing well because they're, helping with their bottom line with affordable, high quality executive assistants while still creating life-changing career opportunities for people in the Philippines. So I love that you brought that up and have the same kind of mentality. As we're wrapping up here, what is one shift that you can recommend to business leaders today that they can make this week to free up their leadership time and feel more in control?
You're looking to free up some time and feel more in control. It's a get comfortable with delegation. That's really important. Here's something you can go and do for your people. Ask your people when they have a problem that needs to be solved and they need your input on it. Ask them to come to you with 3 potential solutions to that problem. Before they come to you, they'd like, I know you love my input, but what I want you to come is come to me with clearly define the problem. Come to me with 3 potential solutions to this problem. And then I'll give you guidance. Hey, you're on the right track, or maybe if you thought about a little bit different on this one, or you just nailed it. Option 2 is exactly the way that we ought to be going on this. So have them come to that. It will teach them to start learning kind of how to solve their own problems. Eventually, like, I don't even need to go to Ken with a problem because I got this. I know what needs to be done. And that empowers them. Because so often we don't even realize it. We are the bottleneck and people have to come through us for the solution and we become the bottleneck. So when we can give our folks the power to make decisions and solve problems on their own, next thing you know, your business is really, really humming.
So much. Cannot agree more. Ken, as we're wrapping up here, where can listeners go to connect with your work, especially those who maybe want to build something stronger with Laundry Love?
Yeah, would love to hear from anyone. Like, if this is your kind of thing, you're looking for an entrepreneurial venture, would love to talk to you about that. A few different places. Number one, to learn about Laundry Love, you can go to laundrylove.com and it's LUV. So laundryluv.com. And then there's a link on there if you want to learn more about our franchising opportunity too. So you learn about the Laundry Love business, the franchise opportunity, both from there. More about Ken Wimberly, you can go to kenwimberly.com. And I've just got details about what I'm up to, what I'm into. I write a fair amount on Substack, and there's links to all my social profiles on kenwimberly.com into my Substack. But if you're interested, I'm a systems guy. So on my website, there's a lot of free resources. I think of ways to streamline my business and my life a lot, and I try to give all that away. So if there's probably 30 different either documents or systems or book reviews or different things on my website that people can all have for free. So if you want any of that, just go to kenwimberly.com. It's yours.
To our listeners out there, if you got value today, hit the follow and subscribe buttons, tap that star, leave a rating. Every rating helps us equip more business leaders who want to grow the smart way. And maybe you know a business owner or colleague who could use this information. Share the episode with them. It could be exactly what they need right now. And again, thank you all for tuning in to Scale Smart, Grow Fast. Here's to building businesses that give you more freedom, stronger teams, and lasting growth. Until next time, keep scaling smart.